think I covered this topic before, but I want to just separate something that I understand exactly what the professor is saying, but I believe that he's not accurately depicting the picture. And I just want to go into this very briefly, and then I'll go on my way. Now, let me make a disclaimer. I did not grow up as a Black American in American culture, but as a visitor to America, it was immediately brought to my attention how much racial profiling happens in America. When I came to America, I was an F1 student. I came to America uh, on an F1 visa to study. I was 30 years old, been a school teacher for 5 years. I was going there to have medical studies to become a medical doctor. And I experienced full-blown racism over there. Uh, People who I thought were smiling and laughing and talking with me threw racist rhetoric at me. They called me a black monkey to my face. And this is a guy who was wearing dreadlocks and he liked Bob Marley. And I realized people don't always relate to you their inner thoughts, their racist inner thoughts. There's a blonde haired guy as well, tall, played piano. And I played a lot of jazz when I was up there, Walla Walla University. I was a science major. I'd come across to the music department, get in there, get on the keyboard, and just run my own jazz, do my own thing, be creative. Um, I've experienced racism, but I also experienced ostracism amongst some of my black brothers and sisters. No fault of theirs, and not black Americans particularly. The people who behaved like that to me weren't even black Americans, which was very interesting. There are all kinds of black Americans. But to get back to the topic at hand, the professor spoke about the fact that Joe Biden lied about America not being what we saw in the Capitol, the ownership, the white supremacy, the interpretation of the Constitution as only made for white people, and everybody must rest aside. That sort of observation of the Constitution has been revised a long time ago. Now, what happens is, let me just put this into perspective here. While we have seen police brutality, and while I have been, the police have followed me all over when I'm driving around in my little red Honda Accord. Sometimes I speed at the fastest speed limit on the freeways, and sometimes, I break traffic lights and all kinds of crazy things. I did a lot of crazy stuff in America, to be honest with you. And I wasn't trying to break the rules. I was just kind of absent-minded guy. But I had been profiled and followed by police in San Bernardino. I had been followed by police in Loma Linda and all over. But the thing about me was, when they said license and registration, I'd pull out my license. They could run me through their system, and then they realized I would be a student of Loma Linda University and leave me alone. But I've been stopped everywhere. In fact, I remember experience I and my ex had in Newport Beach, where we drove down to Newport Beach and everything, and we came out the car. It was a residential area, and we're just looking at this beachfront here, and the police stopped us and said, "No, you need to go out of the car. You need to get out of this area. You could be charged. This is actually private land, private property." So I've interacted with the police in the United States of America on several different occasions for several different things. Um, some of them have been very. I was like, well, "What?" I always ask questions like, "What?" Yeah, I literally got to say what to them. Okay, but I think because because every time they stop me, they run me through their system, and they realized I would be a student of Loma Linda. They gave me a pass. I think the Lord had mercy on me, because there were several different situations where it could have gone south really fast, because I was livid. I was ready to do combat. you know, I was ready. I looked at the officer that way, and the officer, he wasn't backing down, and they're versed in combat as well, and almost anything could have tripped me off at that point. So it was very dangerous situations I found myself in because I was followed quite a lot over there. And then there were other times where I was followed and it was actually for my safety because I fell asleep at the wheel a time and the car was veering off the road and I pulled to the side of the road and I think it was a marshal found me inside the road and he showed me where I could go and park and rest if I needed to. I was going up to an event, I think it was up in the mountains or something. So my experience with the police has been troubling in that they always like if you're black in the States and you're driving around. And the weirdest thing, you see my complexion right now, you know, this is the weirdest thing. I don't know how to explain this to you guys. I got pale. Like I see my complexion right now is great. I actually have some color in my skin. I was pale over there and I was skinny, you know. Anyways, it was just terrible. Some parts of the experience being in the United States of America, like I lost my color. I always took pride in having dark skin, and you know, to this day, some of you guys will think I'm dark skinned, and that's great. I mean, I love being black. I love being dark skinned. I know I'm not really. I'm like fake black, but you know. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So my experiences in there, I've been profiled. I've been profiled in stores. People follow around, ask you what you want, and be like, "What the fuck? Who you? Where did you come from?" You know what I mean? They profile you. Once you're black, they profile you. And then in communities, I've been in communities. But then I'd be in other communities with white people, and like they're so fucking cool. I don't know if they're being. I had a friend, country boy. That's why I said I love country people. And I was in Adventist University where they're very vegan. Everything's vegan, vegan, vegan. And I was like, mother, bruh, bro, I'm losing my mind. I can't get a piece of meat. He was like, he invited me up to Portland. So I told my uncle, and I went up with my buddy, my engineer buddy, and we went up to Port. He introduced me to his entire family, and everybody was all cool with me, and we was eating, and we was talking music, rock, and all kinds of shit. It was really cool, and the guy invited me back up again, and he was just friendly. He was just like a friend, and I just got to know the family and everybody was cool with me. So either they're pretending that they're cool with me or not, but it was cool. I really enjoyed it, and once again, some people are really cool. Some people like treat you like family and shit. And I had conversations with different people. There was this white guy, he had a black girlfriend. There was this black guy, he had a white girl. What I'm trying to say to you guys is like America's not that. Like really, America's not that. America is very complex because there's so many different people meet so many different people. Especially the university experience where there's diversity. And man, it's such an awesome place because you know what the professor is saying. I think it goes for certain people in America, and they use the origins of America as an excuse. But this is the thing that I'll argue with anyone. Thomas Jefferson, right? When his first wife died, he had a common law relationship with a slave. If he is racist, if he is a guy that slaves don't have rights and freedoms, what's he doing shacking up with a slave? And right there, the contradiction lies. Now, people say, well, it was white privilege, but Thomas Jefferson was a president of the United States. White privilege, you know what I'm saying? So he could marry the slave, but he's the same guy that said all men are created equal. How did he know that? How did he know that? And to this day, his descendants are now being acknowledged by both sides of the family, you know, and they're part of history. Now, a lot of of course, great black inventors and great things have been blotted out of history, and history has been whitewashed. But now that we have the knowledge today, we're getting the truth about the situations. And the point behind it is this: the generations coming today who are white know the truth, and they're seeing everything, and they're watching everything. And it is because of our white brothers and sisters globally and also in the United States of America, this new generation of people that don't take bullshit and are in the information age, and the internet has everything on it, that are deciding our fate. What's propelling things even at a faster rate today is the fact that the younger generation, who's smarter, stronger, more influential than ever, and moving mountains, have decided that this is unacceptable. The George Floyd incident had worldwide reaction to it because, one, it was blatantly shown in the open, and two, the younger generation took it and began protests. And yes, it was in the middle of COVID and people wanted to do something as well, but it was a landmark point. It was a tipping point where white America and white privilege breathed its last breath, when the entire world became aware that what a certain representative fraction of America was saying was true and confirmed, and they could not turn a deaf ear to it anymore. It was also a form of white resistance to white power. The yelling, the screaming, and the shouting, and the craziness that started to happen was because white power realized that this was not going to stay forever. They're in the dying throes of their white privilege. So that's what you're seeing playing out here, obviously. And this is what the professor is 100% correct about. But I think he's wrong about what Joe Biden said about this does not reflect America. And it truly doesn't. It is not that simple. It's not just white and black. And there are three reasons I will give you for why it does not represent America. First of all, America is not based on what happens now or what happened in the past. America, as Barack Obama so correctly stated, and he would reiterate this, is an idea that is also speaking of the reality in the future. So it's not just where we are or where we were, but it's where we will be. And so in that context alone, Joe Biden is 100% correct. This is not what embodies us. This is not what we're about. This is not what we will become. So he's speaking a statement that covers the full expanse of America. It is not just how one group's interpretation of how America has began, and they want to stay true to that. It has expanded, it has evolved to embrace more people. Hence the reason why Abraham Lincoln and the Civil War happened for suffrage for black people. It's because America evolved. Otherwise, Abraham Lincoln would never have been able to achieve what he achieved for black suffrage. So I want people to put it in the correct context, even this professor, that you cannot say that America is only for white people and white privilege when there was a civil war over suffrage for minorities, for immigrants, for black people. And then, of course, more rules were modified where a person could become a citizen of the United States of America, not based on the color of their skin, but based on their contributions. And so America has evolved from that early stage. Remember, it was people avoiding persecution that came to America. Now, they did a lot of wrong things, but there are certain things that, because of God and providence, they did right. And there are some wrongs that need to be corrected in this journey. There were people who came to this country not by choice, but through chattel slavery, and were seen as property. But today, they are not seen that way by the modern American world, except by certain groups of people. And certain people feel of themselves to be superior to these people, whether knowingly or unknowingly to themselves. Or they assume that these minority groups have the same status they have and take it for granted. And you have to understand, I did not come from that environment. I came from an environment where I could step outside and go anywhere I want, and no one's going to follow me. Nobody's going to monitor me, at least not that I know of. But when I went across there, I sensed that almost immediately. In fact, when I was walking on the sidewalk, people would give way to me because I had tremendous beard, big old afro, and there's almost sometimes an intimidating factor where people are afraid of you for reasons unknown to me. But then again, it's what's propagated in the media. In spite of the fact that Barack Obama was president of the United States, there was a fear of black people for some reason because they associate them with crime and evil and violence and the vilest thing ever. For some reason, it's an inherent thing that has been taught that black people are inherently evil. And that is propagated because once upon a time, and this happens for women as well, we've seen it in sexism. Once upon a time, black people were slaves. They were the ones that were subdued. And now this slave suddenly becomes a person who can choose and decide their destiny, and that intimidates people. It's just like our women still haven't gotten equal pay and so on. And right now, men feel somewhat into. I feel it sometimes. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes feel intimidated by the fact that women are seizing their rights and to be treated as people and not as objects to be oogled on, not as property, not as less than. And still, we have a pay disparity in America where women are paid less than men. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's the same job. You should be paid for the job. So it's very imperative and very important, in my opinion, that um, people understand America is not perfect. It's still growing into a greater union. But to say, the professors say that Joe Biden lied or Barack Obama lied about America not being what we see, especially white people feeling they own everything. Um, America's not that. It's not that. Certainly not that. But I do agree with him that America does have a lot of white people walking around who have experienced white privilege. We call it white privilege. They feel actually that they are the deal and America is made for them, consciously or subconsciously, and that other races are inferior. There is a thought like that out there. But there's a lot now of educated white people and a lot of white people who do not believe that anymore. So it's not necessarily a prevailing. It's still an inherent thought in a lot of them, but not necessarily um, it's not necessarily in the manner in which these people try to claim it, especially the white extremist Republicans and a lot of. I'm not saying that a lot of white America doesn't think that way, but what I mean is explicitly like that. Okay, and the fact that Confederate flag was flown there shows that these people who literally are coming into the Capitol are descendants of the philosophy of chattel slavery. The Civil War did not completely obliterate the opponents of the losing team. And those opponents of the losing team have still maintained white privilege, slavery, and thoughts like that. So that's what we're experiencing is the rise of these certain groups fighting back. Um, and that's why they suppress votes and so on. So there is and it is a systemic racism we're still fighting against in America. But but the reason why the movements out of this is happening is because the majority of white people support this. the 63% or 66% or 68%, whatever it is, support moving in that direction, which tells us if America was essentially what people say it is, there would be no movement out of it, because you can't have just black people and minorities pushing this agenda. It will not take steam and move forward. The white brethren have to be on board for this movement to go forward. It's the only way. And I heard Congress lady, I think, or Senator lady say that. She says it's up to the white people to take this on and carry it forward. She was right. So, if you think that the minorities can carry this, it can't happen. It's the outrage of seeing the impropriety and the disparity by white media and white-led people, because the media is mostly white. They're the ones that propagate the news. Then the governing people are mostly white. When you look at the voices, the younger generation is still mostly white, and they've taken up the charge. So, minorities, while tremendously great and all that, minorities won't be enough to carry this. Okay. So we need the support of white America, and white America is pushing it, because it's like, especially the younger generation, they're like, this is hogwash. This is bullshit. What the fuck is going on here? That's bullshit. you know, and it's just a different generation, and that's what is making the big difference. It's you guys. You guys are making the difference. The younger people, the people 30 years and younger, are making a big difference. They're bringing the sweeping change that is necessary. They're equalizing the playing field. And truly, America has come a long way since that beginning, that bloody beginning. And mind you, it has a ways to go still, but hand in hand, that's how it goes. That's always going to happen. And that's why I'm glad to be part of this revolution. I'm glad to be part of a community of people who are willing to come out the shadows and to speak up when necessary. And this is such a time where you need to come out the shadows and speak up. Because guess what? The villainous people, the hateful people, they will continue to speak. They will not be silenced. So it's up to us not to be complicit with that. To be silent is to be complicit with it. To stand up, to speak out, is to change things. The millennials didn't give a damn about this, but the next generation, they do care. And that is what makes the difference. And people are jarred to speak up and speak out. And I always encourage people, if you got to go down fighting by speaking up and speaking out. That's my only disagreement with the great professor. He's absolutely 100% on point with every single other point. But I do not believe that this will be what America is, or that this right now is what America is. America right now is changing, and rapidly. And the fact that it is not that, or what it will be, and I say it's not that in the context, people are changing their minds on it as we speak. And, some things have horrible beginnings, but as you can see, things evolve to encompass more people, to be more perfect, to have the union more perfect. And our history books need to be revised to tell the full truth. And this is now happening at this juncture. Obviously, we haven't arrived, but things are being put in place and things are being challenged, and rightfully so. So I just hope that I put that contribution out there to add to the conversation. I do agree with every single thing that the doctor has said from Princeton. I'm just saying that I am not willing to label America that vile thing I just saw. No. I do think it's shared by a significant portion of Americans, but it is not what all Americans believe in and I will believe in the future. I do not believe that. Otherwise, we wouldn't reach this far. It is because of Americans, and I'm talking about white Americans, who have also joined with their brothers and sisters in pushing this change and educated themselves on systemic racism and inherent programmed racism, that we are able to reach this far. We couldn't do it without our white brothers and sisters. So I just wanted to say that, and I think Joe Biden is progressive, just like Barack. They're progressive people in that respect. But this will not be swept under the rug. January 6th will be a day in infamy. It will be a day worse than 9/11, and it will be remembered as a marker for why Americans must never, never, ever allow any leader to not be checked and in line. And as for the Republican Party, which keeps on trying to make excuses for why this president shouldn't be removed from office, while another coup attempt and several other coup attempts throughout the nation are happening. And for those who assisted in contributing by either financially or in terms of voting in the Senate or in the Congress towards this, the reason why these people even made a coup attempt, these people must be removed from office, whether through elections or through the given states protesting them and asking them to step down because they do not represent them. But they must be removed from office, and some of them will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. This must never ever happen again in America. I don't care if you replace them with another Republican. Make sure it's somebody who is not sharing those views. Y'all guys vet your Republican candidates. Truth and honesty must mean some kind of shit out here, and vet them. This is very important. Okay. All of us benefit from democracy. It's not perfect, but it's the best thing out there so far. All of us benefit from democracy, and the progress that the black communities and the minority communities have made must be built upon. And so no matter what these Republicans say, and I'm glad that Nancy Pelosi, and I just want to give her a thumbs up again, is doing a vote on the impeachment of Donald Trump, because now we will have a second record of traitors to democracy that we can mark them with. I already put down the names of the 139 congressmen and the 8 senators who all voted fallaciously to try to stop the elections, the results from being entered into Congress, and the election of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who, by the way, Kamala Harris is the first Black Asian vice president of the United States who happens to be a woman as well. Another first in America's democracy. So don't tell me that America is inherently white supremacist. That's bullshit. She would never be in office if that was the case. We do know it has white privilege. We do know there are subconscious things that white people think, and the only way to change that is to continue progressing forward, so that white people will realize they're not in jeopardy, that actually there will be more opportunities to progress forward, and more ideas and more creativity, because America is such a cosmopolitan nation. They're going to have a great time. White America is going to say, what the fuck were we doing trying to make this place all white? They're going to realize how much of a good place America can be. All you got to do is go to a party. What is just about every race of person on the globe? My country is multiracial, multi-ethnic. Okay, we do have some clashes with different ethnic groups every now and then, but it dies down like nothing. Okay, we coexist with one another very, very well. Just about any single country you could think of in the world is down here. Okay, and let me just let you know, we have a good old time down here. We got a good old time. Everybody gets along good with everybody. It's not going to be a bad thing. It's going to be a great thing. And you don't have to be afraid of it. It just means meeting people you're not used to meeting and getting to know them. A lot of these people, some of them travel the world and still have their ideologies, and that's okay. You're free to believe whatever you want to believe. That's the beauty of democracy. You're free to say whatever you want to say to some degree. The point is that change is inevitable. Nobody always likes change initially, but later on you get to appreciate it. You get to appreciate it. And once no one is forcing anyone to do something through violence, people are free to do whatever they want with their lives. That's the greatest freedom of all. And that's what democracy allows. It's great governance. It really is. And so fundamentally, white supremacy has shown itself to be ugly. It's not good. We saw the effects of Trump supporters killing Trump supporters in an effort to kill the vice president who is a Trump supporter in, in Congress. That's crazy. They're eating up their own selves. They're destroying their own selves for the evil that they're doing. And they can't see the evil that they're doing is destroying them. And it will destroy every last one of them as they continue down that path. They're going in a part of destruction that will destroy them because they're seeking to destroy a nation that is godly, that is seeking to do godly things with a godly head. And it is our enemies, the enemies of the United States of America, that is hoping the country would implode and destroy itself. So these agents of the devil, these agents of deception, these agents of lies, they must be put down. They must be put down if democracy is to continue. And those who sworn an oath to the Constitution and those who are in the intelligence agencies have to do their damnedest best to ensure that that is kept. And as smoothly and as quietly as possible, the transition of the inauguration should go without a hitch, without any incident throughout the country. That's the goal. But do understand some people are going to get killed because of that in the background. A lot of people are going to be assassinated, taken out, whatever it takes to make sure that there's a normal progressive things will happen. Because you see how those Trump supporters went gung-ho, gong hard with military operations? Well, they don't have the resources and the full force of the United States government. And I'm going to tell you right now, if they got to go rogue against the president who's trying to make certain orders with his people inside the government to attack the democracy, they will go rogue. But you can be assured they will try their damnedest to make sure that the democracy is held and the rule of law is kept. And for these Republicans, these hypocrites who said, we believe in the rule of law, and they're trying to prove that the rule of law has been broken, for these hypocrites out there who endorsed and encouraged the treason that happened, and defend a president who has been treasonous and has broken a lot of laws and is still lying to this day. Your days in the political forum are numbered. It's numbered. And I will not be surprised if the constituents of some of these representatives ask for their resignation and put pressure on them to resign. And after they come out of political office, charge them with crimes against the United States of America. Let them know, we're not just letting you off the hook just like that. No. You got to think, when you go into Congress to represent us, you better know what you're doing. You better know what words you're saying. You're going to have to learn to pick your words properly. Because with absolute power comes absolute responsibility. Accountability is always greater than entertainment, said Ray Fisher. He's right. Onward we go. Backward we will not go. And for those who want us to take steps back and carry us back to the 1800s, you will be destroyed. So that is what is up. It's got to be a mixture of kindness and a mixture of fierce sternness, an unwavering resolve. I back Nancy Pelosi 100%. Successfully impeach this president, make sure he cannot run for office ever again. And then start your indictments statewide against him. Make sure he's prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law as is possible. And then, if he gets convicted, incarcerate him. He must be made an example of some way, somehow. This must never happen again. And they are planning on making it happen again soon. We do not know how soon, but hopefully security is on high alert, not just for the capital and other states, but in other areas and cities. There needs to be a high alert all over the country in terms of intelligence. All intelligence should be taken very seriously. If you capture somebody who is an innocent citizen, fine. But it's better to err on the part of capturing innocent citizens and finding out what's going on with them than it is to make a mistake and go on the wrong lead and miss a lead. I know how DC works. I know how many agents are all over DC. I actually experienced a shutdown while I was in DC. I entered an airport, and I thank God by bowing my head down on the ground. The cleaner saw that. He alerted the police, and the police was coming down, and they would have come to take me if one of the head of the airport's security just came through. I think I was moving with the spirit, and he whisked me away, and the whole airport was shut down. I landed in Baltimore. The whole airport was closed down. And he took me to his home. And he was telling me about Egyptology and stuff like that. He was very kind to me. God took care of me. Otherwise, I'd probably have been arrested. I want you guys to understand how serious it is. So they don't play around. They don't mess around. And even though Donald Trump had caused the security of the American Capitol to be lapsed and so on, they clamped down on that shit now. And since the Secret Service is responsible for everything, it's going to be a whole different gear. It's going to be a whole different ball game. But I just want to say, and I think they're planning a protest, an armed protest in the Capitol, and I hope that they don't get permission for that. I hope that they shut that down at the highest level. And because it's very important that the security of the people in the Capitol, as well as the security of a president and vice president, anybody coming through needs to be vetted for that event. And it's just going to be one of those events because of COVID that, the average person, they either have to be IDing and so on people, because you got to keep this in lockdown. Lockdown. You need to lock down a lot of things. Make sure the security of people is in order. Of course, there'll have to be people attending, and the normal public will have to attend in DC. But they need to vet everybody. Anybody fishy gets arrested. And then they're getting interrogated. That's how they got to deal with it. And they shouldn't allow these people permission by warrants to protest down in the Capitol. That's something that they should never allow. Ain't nobody coming in the Capitol to protest it. They need to lock that shit down. Anybody submitting permission to protest, say in the different states, lock it down. The states need to reject that submission for permission. So if they come out and they don't have the certification to protest, um, they should lock them up, arrest them immediately, and lock them up. Um, don't play that shit. Don't allow these people after that violent episode to just come out there and get permits to protest. You can protest some other day, not this day. Lock it down, shut it down. That's what they need to do. Lock shit down and shut it down. Because they're incapable of peaceful protest. They proved that. They disqualified themselves at the Capitol. So that's what I got to say about that. I'm going to catch you guys later. What you need in the building. Peace.